Greef Karga said you were coming.
What else did he say?
He said you were the best in the parsec. Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
You are a Mandalorian. Your ancestors rode the great mythosaur.
Your name will be legendary.
I don't know if you heard, but the Empire is gone.
We have you 4-1.
I like those odds.
Hello and welcome to Mandalorian Minute, a Who Watches podcast about the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian. I'm Travis Fishburne.
I'm Ryan DeVere.
And I'm Dustin Meadows.
And this week we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 4, Sanctuary. And this week we get to go to an actual green planet, which is exciting. And we get some nods to Akira Kurosawa, which is where a lot of George Lucas's inspiration came from for the original series. But what do you guys think of this episode?
The opening scene was like, oh, I'm watching Lord of the Rings? What is this?
Yeah.
There's some droids. But
yes, the opening.
Yeah. A lot like the orcs raiding the villages in the trilogy.
Yeah, as soon as it started, I was like, this looks like the Uruk-hai, attacking the Rohan villages is what it looked like. And even Sarah asked me, she's like, are we watching the right show? And then you see one of them stab an astromech and you're like, oh yeah, this is right.
It's like, oh, somebody left this on the wrong set. Yeah, I think they're Clatoonians, but I just called them the dog people.
That's exactly the dog face people.
Yeah.
Barada from Return of the Jedi.
I dug it. It was a nice little intro. Like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, are they going to 7 samurai it this week?
Yeah, well, they did.
That's exactly...
2 samurai.
Yeah, 2 samurai.
Yeah,
2 samurai, 2 furious.
Oh, that's what they should have called it.
But yeah, it was a super fun episode. Like I think I said before, I'm all for them just doing different westerns and samurai stuff in this show, and I will be on board for it. And then, of course, we also finally got Gina Carano as Cara Dune.
Yeah, I kept waiting for her to show up.
Oh, man. What a great character she is.
Yeah, the way that they are bringing in these characters and letting them just like sit as part of this particular chapter and story is very interesting. And I like it. I just was not expecting that. From the get-go with the marketing, you just kind of got this impression like, all right, we got the Mando, and then we're going to have Greef Karga, and we're going to have the Gina Carano character, Cara Dune, and we're going to have IG-11. They each run into him at certain points, but they are not all together.
They're not like main cast. Yeah, which is cool. I like that they're spread out, because I feel like that also gives them more time to kind of play around with these characters and like learn a little bit about them. Except IG-11, who we're not entirely convinced that we're not going to see IG-11.
Oh, he's coming
again,
back.
So,
He better.
So
Taika Waititi's directing the last episode, so I'm hoping.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
This one is directed by Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else has she directed?
I don't know. I think she directed a documentary about fatherhood a few years ago.
Oh man, what if she had just turned this episode into The Village?
Oh, I could see that.
You guys, it's 1999. This is the guy from Game of Thrones wearing a costume.
Just completely undoes the entire Star Wars universe.
Yep. Those dog face people, they're just normal, ugly people with dog prosthetics applied.
They did, when they were making the original trilogy and the cantina, they actually, like, for Woo-Her and stuff, they were trying to find ugly people. Like, there was a special, like, ugly casting that they had to get for some of the cantina patrons.
Oh, what a great moment, but also just terrible moment. Hey, we cast you as one of the Uggos in the cantina.
Do you like that better than being one of the Jawas?
At least they can see my
Jawa,
face.
all you have to do is be short. You have less control over that than somebody thinking you're ugly.
Are you saying that George Lucas is a modern day P.T. Barnum?
Oh.
Come watch my freak show.
I mean,
Look
he
at
did
Dr.
use Warwick
Evazan.
Davis a lot.
Yeah.
And shoved Kenny Baker inside a trash can.
Well, this took a dark turn.
Yeah. But yeah, summary of the episode is arriving on a sparsely populated planet to lay low for a couple of months. The Mandalorian encounters a former rebel shock trooper mercenary named Cara Dune. Suspicious of each other, they fight to a draw. Dune is hiding after taking early retirement. While preparing his ship, he's approached by two desperate fishermen hoping to hire him to drive off Klatooinians raiding their village. He accepts in exchange for lodging, using their credits to enlist Dune's help. And at the village, O'Mara, a widowed mother, houses them. And then they find an ATST and are able to take the whole tribe down after they teach the fishermen how to fish, so to speak.
I mean, this episode too, because this is the second appearance now of comedians as minor characters. The two farmers that go to recruit him, it's I think Asif Ali is one, and then Eugene Cordero.
Yes,
they're one, and they're both comics.
Yeah.
So between them and Brian Posehn in that first episode, maybe I'll get to be in a Star Wars someday.
Yeah. And Bill Burr is going to be in an episode.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. Yeah, Bill Burr's not shown up yet.
Yeah, the Eugene Cordero character, his name is Stoke.
Yes.
So I've got a new Snoke theory now.
Yeah, no, the casting has been really great. Like, they're just giving people chances to do stuff in the Star Wars universe, and that's really cool. I like what they're doing with directing so far. I like what they're doing with casting. It all feels coherent, which is great. Disney has the resources to do that and still let people play. I want more of this. This is really where I think Star Wars gets to be super fun. Is Cara Dune an existing character?
No, this is her first appearance.
Okay.
It very much sounds like one.
Yeah. It sounds like a Star Wars name.
Yeah, and even her character and like, what's the actress's name?
Gina Carano.
Yeah.
Gina Carano. She embodied this character very well. It felt part of the universe. She almost felt like a cartoon in like a great way.
Yeah, she's a great actor. Like she's
She was in Deadpool.
only had a handful. Yeah, she's in Deadpool. She's in Haywire, which is amazing. She's in the lead role. It's basically an action flick.
Yeah, Steven Soderbergh bringing her out of what she used to fight.
She used to do MMA.
MMA, yeah.
And she's phenomenal. Like her fight sequences are great. It's a really solid movie, and Gina Carano is great. Like I'm stoked. I hope she keeps getting more roles like this. Like more roles for her and less for Ronda Rousey, because oh boy, Ronda Rousey is not a good actor.
You didn't like her in Fast and Furious 7?
Is this like the Rock versus Hulk Hogan kind of deal?
No, this is legitimately Ronda Rousey's. I've seen her in 2 or 3 movies now, and she's pretty bad. Like even the few lines she had in, I think it's Fast 7.
Yeah.
That she's in,
I can never keep track of which one's Fast and which one's Furious.
Yeah. It's Fast 5, Furious 6, Fast 7, and then Fate of the Furious.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's in Fast 7, and yeah, she's rough. And then she has a larger role in Expendables 3, which is also not super great. Although that movie sidelines Wesley Snipes and Terry Crews for the majority of the runtime, so there's a lot of big mistakes being made in Expendables 3. But yeah, Gina Carano in this, she's great. Like the character is awesome. Like I definitely hope we see more of her as well.
Yeah, it's cool. I really like the casting of her because they're just bringing in like other women into the Star Wars universe that are not. Because recently, with the previous movies, we've gotten like whether it be Rey or Kira or Jyn Erso, or yeah, you're right.
Sorry,
but it's nice seeing a different body type in there, and just more women in Star Wars in general. Because like before the new trilogy came out, I was like, oh, you're a girl and you want to go as a Star Wars for Christmas? All right, Leia or Amidala.
Mon Mothma.
Or Mon Mothma, yeah.
Would anybody get that?
I don't know.
That'd be a niche costume.
Yeah. just because recently we were watching Rogue One, and they used the same actress in Rogue One to play Mon Mothma that she initially was in Revenge of the Sith, but her scene got deleted. So they were able to put her back in Rogue One playing her, and I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, none of that uncanny Grand Moff Tarkin. Which, oh boy, just recast him. Like, just cast somebody. That
They did
looks
have
close
a
to it.
different guy cast at the end of Revenge of the Sith. In a very brief scene, you see him talking to Palpatine on the bridge of a Star Destroyer.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
Peter Cushing as much as the next guy. But, ooh, I still get chills thinking about that part in Rogue One just because it looks so. Ooh.
Didn't
I
sit
liked
well
it.
with you.
I
it
really
didn't.
liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's been different people have gotten different mileage out of that. It really didn't bother me that much.
Shoot him
Not
in
as much
shadow.
as the.
It stuck out to me.
Did it?
It just like I think it was probably as good as they could have done it, but it popped. Shoot him in shadow or something.
There's some cool videos online of the deep fakes
Yeah.
stuff they can do now, and like laying that over those scenes. Especially Leia's scene stuck out to me though. That was the one
She
that
was
threw me off.
a weird looking one.
But yeah, Cara's a cool character.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian just gets his butt kicked all the time, and it's great.
It's
like,
nice to see him really humanized.
Yeah.
To
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
extent.
he's so cool and collected in many of these encounters, and then other times he's just grasping at straws.
Yeah, he almost used a flamethrower on her, but the way they're fighting, and she's like pummeling into him against that armor with her fists.
Yeah. She's a tough gal.
Yeah.
Former shock trooper.
Yeah, it's very interesting with her backstory being an ex-shock trooper for the rebellion.
Yeah.
There's a little quote in there that she says, saw most of my action mopping up after Endor, mostly ex-Imperial warlords. They wanted it fast and quiet. They'd send us in dropships. No support, just us. Then when the imps were gone, the politics started. We were peacekeepers protecting delegates, suppressing riots, not what I signed up for. Which I think is a really cool thing for her to say, because that's a direct opposite statement from the Jedi in the prequels. Because Qui-Gon says to Amidala, I can only protect you. I can't fight a war for you. And Mace in episode 2 says, we're keepers of the peace, not soldiers.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah. We're getting, man, this is just a great, I really loved Rogue One, kind of the boots on the ground feel. You get to be with the soldiers as stuff's happening. And this is another view into that of like, yeah, you're following the Skywalkers and their gang. What is the impact on the rest of the universe here? And you get to tell smaller stories. And that's exactly what I wanted from this series.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great background for it too. I love in that fight the Mandalorian telegraphs that he's going to use his flamethrower. Like he fires it up like 2 seconds before he's even.
It's a little bit of a
aiming at it.
warning.
Which gives her that opportunity to like stomp it down and like not get charred alive, which is great.
Yeah, he seems to use it in a threatening manner.
Yeah.
Because he did the same thing to the Jawas.
Yeah.
Do you understand this?
Yes.
It works.
And then
It's flashy.
the birth of a meme with the Baby Yoda
Oh
watching.
my god, yeah. I think when you tagged me in that yesterday, Travis, and that was probably the 4th time I'd seen it, and I still laughed just as hard as I did the first time. It's such
yeah.
a good.
Which
Well,
one is
that's
this
a
one?
different one.
Oh.
You're talking about him touching things
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
the
Razor
Yoda
Crest.
radio
I'm
thing.
talking about when he finds them fighting and he's sipping
Oh
on the
yeah,
broth.
sipping the brome broth.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, this show has been very memeable so far.
Oh, yeah.
Baby Yoda shows up everywhere.
Yeah, and at first I was like, you can't like show Baby Yoda in all these posts because a lot of people in other countries, they can't watch this thing legally yet. So it's like kind of a big spoiler. But the cat is so out of the bag with that
Yeah.
you,
Oh, yeah.
you
Oh, yeah.
cannot escape Baby Yoda.
Well, that's even the thing. I was like, it's not really a spoiler beyond that first episode.
No, but it is very mind-blowing. And they were intentionally, holding that back.
Oh yeah, that reveal was great for sure.
Yeah, they altered footage from the trailers to take him out. Because I've watched since and I'm like, yeah, that shot has Baby
there
Yoda
should
in
be a
it.
Baby
yeah.
Yoda in that shot. But yeah, it's a great reveal, but I don't think it ruins.
No, it doesn't ruin the
experience.
story, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the end of that fight, though. He's like, You want soup? Like he just, they're just basically flexing. Like nobody really is doing any damage to anybody.
Oh yeah.
They just sizing each other up more or
Yeah,
less.
well, and that just ending with them like drawing down on each other is
Yeah.
such like a like with him on his back too. Like
Which
this is
I
like-
wanted to test. If you have the helmet on and you're laying
Oh,
on your
would he
back,
be able to
is there
see?
any way you could see? He had no idea.
We
what's
don't
happening.
know. What he can see in that helmet or not.
Yeah,
so.
I'm guessing probably just instinct wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is something I've always.
I'm
had
guessing you have a gun drawn too, so we're at a standstill.
Something I've always wondered about Boba Fett is a very cool part of the costume, which we've always known is he's got a rocket launcher, on his jetpack. And especially they show it in Attack of the Clones where Jango, in a very awkward manner, like climbs around this beam and he shoots it down at Obi-Wan. I'm like, that's how it's worked? I always assumed he locked onto a target.
Yeah, like a homing missile.
Yeah, and then he launches it and it finds, like, you don't have to literally aim it with your back.
You gotta
That's
crawl and
impractical.
Yeah, the prequels took some of that mysticism out of it.
Mandalorian's bringing it back though. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's using all the same tools, but in the most intriguing way.
Oh yeah.
So basically, Cara tells him that she's laying low here, that he's
Mhm.
got to move on. She came here first, which
Yeah.
is kind of the honor among thieves kind of.
I got here first.
Yeah.
Dibs.
Yeah,
Which I think
like-
is cool. You've got kind of this universe of outcasts and stuff that's happening, and he's navigating that world. It's
Mhm.
kind of,
And he's bringing trouble with him.
yeah, and so it's good little bits of world building. It gives texture to the backgrounds.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a really fun period too, like in the Star Wars timeline in general, for it to be like just post the fall of the Empire and everything, but like before all the other stuff starts. And yeah, it's interesting, like seeing like how it's affected the galaxy, because I don't really feel like we get that in a lot of the main Star Wars entries. Like, oh well, how does this major event like affect things like across the board outside of like the handful of main characters we're following?
Mm-hmm.
Especially the cool thing with seeing the Mandalorian like traveling to all these different planets, like we're actually getting that too. It's like how does the Empire not have a presence work here? Like how has it affected this farming planet?
Yeah. I love that we get to see a new planet that is not derivative of Tatooine or any other place.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, it kind of is Endor-esque, but
Just
really
that
we've
it
not
has
seen,
trees,
yeah,
yeah.
we've not seen really a lot of planets like this. So it was very nice to see something lush and green and practical. Which,
And it even refers to it as like something like a backwater scud hole.
yeah.
So like, and we don't like, we really haven't seen a lot of like the equivalent of small towns, but on planets, or like rural communities. And it's because like we see that like their town area is not super big, not super vibrant,
No.
and then the nearest thing
It's
to
like
it
a
is this
camp.
farming community.
Yeah.
One of the things that always has kind of happened in Star Wars is like each planet is one biome. Basically, you consolidate each planet into the one main, like Mos Eisley is about it on Tatooine.
Coruscant. The
Yeah,
entire
Coruscant.
city is a planet.
Yeah, the entire planet is a city, and yeah, and it just that continues throughout Star Wars. And so even visiting this planet, he's like, oh well, this one tavern's taken. I guess we're gonna have to move on to a
Yeah.
whole different planet. Dude, like
Go check the other side.
that's like going to one bar and finding one like ruffian, and you're like, well, I'm gonna have to move on to anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. The planets in Star Wars are just like towns.
Yeah, and I've never really questioned that. This was one of those spaces where it started to be like, really, you can't find anywhere else on the whole planet?
Oh, seriously, does I mean like, I guess like, what's the smallest that a planet could possibly be in this universe?
Well, I mean,
Okay.
the gravity is pretty consistent across the board. So if you're talking about smaller planet, you're talking about lower gravity.
Yeah.
I don't think they care about that.
I don't think they do either. But
Yeah. Just curious, or like, I mean, it could be like maybe some of these planets, like, only so much of the area is, like, inhabitable or, like, developed or terraformed or whatever else.
Mm-hmm. There's only so much blue shrimp to go around.
Yeah.
I liked in the that tavern place. There's a loth cat, which is is a creature from Rebels, which was created for that show, and it's finally like being seen.
I was wondering if that had popped up in something else. It was like, oh, it's a giant weird
cat
Miyazaki looking cat.
Miyazaki looking cat. That's a good line.
Yeah. Definitely look like that.
Honestly, I very briefly got a There Will Be Blood vibe. Just when the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda sitting there first, and he just goes, bone broth for the boy.
Yeah. A milkshake.
2 steaks, the goat's milk for the boy.
Yeah, he doesn't order anything, and the proprietor there, her characterization I found very interesting in this world.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if she was nervous or if she was like, it is an interesting performance.
I mean, it could have been a reaction. They probably don't get a lot of Mandalorians on that planet.
Yeah.
I mean, and if the farmers knew what he was,
yeah,
I'm sure the proprietor, the inn probably did as well, or the restaurant, whatever the hell it was.
So the farmers that
they find
approach him,
yeah.
we start the whole Seven Samurai process.
Yeah, as soon as they find him and they start propositioning him, like, oh, this is some Seventh Samurai kind of a thing going on, and then later when it's decided what they're going to do, I'm like, yeah, they're leaning completely into that.
Yeah.
There was a small part of me that was hoping that Baby Yoda would start doing the Seven Samurai thing that regular Yoda does, with like the rubbing of his head.
Yeah.
That I can't remember which samurai it was in the original one, but like the main one, like, was always like rubbing his head, like whenever he was pondering something.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, I guess, but this was very blatant. Like, if you're familiar with that at all,
Oh yeah,
then you're like, oh, this is exactly what's going to play out.
Yeah, this is the second time a Star Wars show has done that. There was an episode of the Clone Wars, which was a direct homage to Seventh Samurai, in which they did the same thing.
Nice.
There was a
part of me was almost hoping that this would be like an episode setting up the battle, because like I would love to see an episode, because like we got it with Game of Thrones, where literally the entire episode is just the battle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and especially with this being a half-hour format or close to it.
This one was 40 minutes.
Yeah, this is the longest one yet.
Really, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah,
wow,
like
it didn't
41.
feel like it. That makes it even more, because like I feel like the battle is such a small part of the episode,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of a bummer, because like I feel like they spend all this time building it up. I still love the episode. It's still a great episode. It's just like one of my friends put it best. They wish that the battle hadn't just been the final shootout from the Three Amigos, essentially. Whereas like it's just like
Which is another
them
Seventh
springing
Samurai.
a trap. But yeah, like it's just I wanted kind of more of the battle.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we'll get that down the road with another episode at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like this was, I mean, each episode has kind of focused on one character at a time. And like everybody else, so like Mandalorian being kind of what I'm trying to say, I guess, is each episode is we're almost talking about an anthology series, with the exception of the Mandalorian is the thread that holds everything
That ties
else
everything together.
And so like this was very much about Cara's story, and we get a little bit more about the Mandalorian, but everything else on the side was just context to tell more about her and like what she would be doing in this kind of a planet and post empires, all that. So like the stakes, even though they're teaching these people to defend their home and all that, the stakes never felt super high.
Mm-hmm.
No,
you knew Mandalorian was walking out of there. You knew Cara was walking out of there.
Baby Yoda, though.
They didn't feel high until the ATST showed up.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is the first time, like, I've seen an ATST in something, and I was like, oh, this actually would be kind of scary to run into.
Yeah.
Like, especially, like, with it popping
Tiny
up in the
village
dark
like
with,
that.
like, the red, like, behind the eye panels. I was like, oh my god, why have they never had an ATST like spring into life this way before? This is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is so good. Like
Felt like a creature waking up.
yeah, and that's how it should be. Like these are like these gigantic like murder machines.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like they should be terrifying, but like when you see them, like even in like in Jedi and Empire, it's never like, oh, here's this big scary thing. It's like
They're
hey,
dispatched comically.
yeah, exactly. I was like, hey, I bet we can tie this thing's shoelaces together
Yeah.
and like trip
Make it trip on some logs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the same thing though that happened with Rogue One. Rogue One being the first movie where we got to see a lightsaber unopposed, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, holy cow, that's incredibly menacing. I mean, Darth Vader
Yeah.
being menacing on
well,
his own,
well,
but like,
even just seeing like infantry warfare.
yeah,
It's like that's the first like kind of like prolonged, because like I mean Endor again like the seriousness of it is undercut by the fact that it's Ewoks
yes,
using guerrilla tactics.
yeah,
Like and even Empire we get that for a minute like during the Battle of Hoth. Then it's like, hey, what if we trip this big AT-AT walker?
right. There's always a response to it.
Yeah.
And this one, there didn't feel like a direct response. How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when you literally have farmers armed with pitchforks, which is exactly what Seventh Samurai is. It's like how do you combat this thing? And yeah, I guess I was just hoping for a little bit more from the battle because like up until that point, like it was great, and then like when it has that moment of hesitation, I was like, this is just how they killed the T-Rex in Land Before Time. That's what this is. They're just tricking into that big lake, and he can't swim with his scrawny arms.
Yeah, I want to know how they dug it that deep.
Yeah.
Like these people with just shovels dug something that ATST could fall into like that.
Yeah. Well, and part of me wonders too is like, no, I mean, it gets submerged up to I guess what would be its knees essentially.
Mm-hmm. They'd have to go. Yeah, they'd have to hold their
That's-
breath
yeah.
to go down.
That's probably like a 10-foot deep trench minimum.
They're not gonna be able to eat that shrimp either now.
Yeah. Probably shrapnel in
soiled.
there.
Your village is safe, but now you have no food.
Yeah, now you gotta harvest krill elsewhere.
Yeah, and the ATST itself, they never showed the inside. The way that it moved and the way that it was like looking down at the water and watching its steps, it
Yeah.
felt alive. It felt like it didn't feel like, it was
not a
being
machine being
yeah.
operated.
Which you get that a little bit even on Endor though. We're
Yeah.
like tripping over stuff,
Yeah.
but it feels comedic
Yeah.
instead of
Part of me was
Beastly.
half expecting Baby Yoda to just like pull it in.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
like-
We've not seen.
Anything since the Mudhorn.
I was real afraid that was what the MacGuffin
Gonna
of the
lean
show
on it
was
too
going to
much,
be. Yeah. Every time we get into trouble, it's going to be Baby Yoda.
But yeah,
Rusty.
but I'm glad they're not leaning on that.
like some sort of anime.
Which is good because like it literally it was introduced to the Mudhorn just to establish as like okay, so it at least has some awareness of the Force and that it can do it, but that's it. Like it's which is good. Like I'm glad that's not become a crutch that they're leaning on. Like there's been literally every episode since there have been opportunities for that to be
Yeah.
like the hey here's our Deus Ex Machina that saves the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's always something else like oh no here's like 15 other Mandalorians. No, here's Cara Dune like charging in and drawing it out.
Yeah, she got to use the gun too.
Yeah.
The disintegration
That thing
rifle.
that's a cool weapon.
Which I didn't know what that was going to do against armor because we've only seen it against.
Yeah, Laura was like, she
Bio.
gonna like maybe try and take out like a knee joint or something or what?
I don't know. We get
If only she'd said, "Smile, you son of a bitch."
They were pretty good.
we get some of the humanization of Mandalorian through the mother and the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He seemed pretty ready to settle down.
Yeah.
I was reading something. They made a really great note of it. It was like, literally, you hear in his voice that like part of him wants it, but like he knows that he can't.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's just testament to how amazing Pedro Pascal is in this role because he has to communicate everything through his voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's literally the one tool he can rely on because like even body language, like with all the armor, isn't going to come across super clear. So like it's all in his vocal performance.
And there's a
it's there.
question of, is he always in the armor?
Yeah.
Because I think from what I've heard, I think he might have been cast like a little after they started shooting. I think there's in the pilot and some other scenes where it's not all Pedro
Not him.
Pascal. So as an actor, you can't have that consistency of character. You can't rely on that. So
Yeah, that's
like you
true,
said,
too.
it's his voice, which I feel like we heard the most, like you said, I could actually hear Pedro Pascal in his voice more this episode than any other up until this point.
Well, I feel like this is the most talking he's done
Mm-hmm.
in any given episode. Because, like, he's usually so short with his responses, but, like, he's having a conversation with O'Mara.
Yeah.
Like, the conversation he's having with her, like, with Cara Dune, like, that one's like, you could settle down here. Like, with that hot widow. And, like,
Drink some spotchka.
Yeah, and find a life for your surrogate baby boy.
Yeah.
It's but then of course we find out that another
Garindan
guild
has
hunter
tracked him
him
down.
down, and is specifically tries to take out Baby Yoda. But
Yeah.
Cara Dune kills him. 'Cause, like, as soon as he said it was like, I'm gonna leave him here and move on, I was like, there's no way you're splitting up that easily. And then, like, as soon as they showed the idea, I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Another bounty hunter's here. He's going to realize that he can't leave the kid. Because then he's going to put the villagers in peril again. So...
Second time one of those bounty hunters has had their gun trained right at him, and then we hear a shot, which is revealed that the bounty hunter got shot.
Yup.
Yoda. Yeah, and I think that also kind of answers a little bit of questions about how those fobs work. Because in the second, or in the previous episode, I was a little confused.
Yeah.
I think we all were about like, all right, well, is the bounty out on him yet? Or is it the Baby Yoda?
Yeah.
And I think it's still, they're all just tracking Baby Yoda right now.
Yeah.
I want to know a whole lot more about those fobs. Like,
Yeah.
how
like,
does that
do they
work?
get, like, genetic code?
Well,
Like,
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, how... Because, like, if it tracks to a location... I mean, there's no way that they could know that they were on this planet unless he was followed, which I don't think that was the case. Like, he was clearly tracked because we see him using the dragon fob. So, yeah, I'm really curious. Like,
So is it just a proximity thing?
But then again, like, how do you know,
Right.
though? Like,
Right.
how... Like, I feel like it has to be, like, they have to have, like, a blood sample or a DNA sample or
yeah, I
something.
think they would have to.
Like, because otherwise... I can't think of any way. Like, you would just have to know where your quarry is.
Yeah. And maybe we just don't. I mean, maybe it's a plot device that just doesn't get answered. I don't know. But it just seems convenient. And
Yeah,
I
it is
hope they
a
have
convenient
respect.
device they have there to
Yeah.
track those quarries.
Oh, because, like, well, it seems like a lot of their quarry, for the most part, with the exception of Baby Yoda, are, like, criminals.
Mm-hmm.
People who probably have, like, a blood file on record or something.
Yeah, they've been fingerprinted or whatever you want
Yeah.
to
With
So-
Baby Yoda, if he is a clone, or if he did come from a facility like that, it would make
Then it would
sense.
make sense, yeah.
Or that they like implanted some kind of a tracking device in him.
Yeah.
Because the cloners did implant
Yeah.
the chips inside the clones for Order 66.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense,
it makes
then.
sense that they could, citizens of this galaxy can have things implanted in them. Also, Anakin had a chip implanted in him in Episode 1. That if he was not free when he left, he would have blown up.
Oh.
Yeah.
It seems like if you're making clones of Baby Yodas, maybe that's the one you should have gone with.
Yeah.
If it ever leaves here, it blows up.
Maybe they didn't realize that there would be a threat that it was.
Maybe. I don't know. A lot of questions
Because
yet
again,
to be
we've
answered.
seen conflicting things. It's like the doctor with the Camino patch, like, clearly wants Baby Yoda to be preserved, like, wants him safe, whereas the client, or at least the bounty hunters that he has also dispatched, seem intent on killing him.
Yeah.
So because they perceive him as a threat. So
Yeah, I've loved so far through this series. There's been like clear moments of these were the concept art, and now we've just made it into we've shot it. Like there's the scene where the ATST's standing over the village, and you're like, that was a concept piece. That's where they got this idea. The feel of this scene came from.
Yeah, I really
And then-
love all the concept art they're showing at the end.
At the end
It's
each time.
Very good, reminiscent of McQuarrie's art for the original trilogy. They're doing a great job there.
And they're
I
doing
like
a
that we're
great
seeing
job
it.
taking the concept art and just making it real. It feels great. It's nice that they're taking time from the pacing. It's not just rapid fire to show what's happening, to just let the universe breathe for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I've said it before again. I am completely in love with the score for this show.
Yeah. It's getting better.
This may be the first time in my life where I've ever like felt compelled, like where I want to own a Star Wars soundtrack. Like, not that John Williams is
That
is a
overrated
slouch by
John Williams.
any
hack.
stretch, but like I've never had a compulsion to like sit down and like listen to any of the Star Wars scores.
Yeah.
Part of that's because like they're so ingrained in us. I feel like at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, we all know like the main theme and Imperial March, like, and those are kind of the big ones. Whereas like this one again, like because it's borrowing from kind of like those Morricone, like from those spaghetti western kind of ideas, which those I'm a sucker for.
Yeah.
And Ludwig Göransson's, yeah, just like, and he's an amazing composer to begin with. Like, and he's done so many cool, like he did Community, Black Panther.
I did not know that he did.
Yeah, that was actually the first big thing that he did was doing the score on Community.
Oh.
And then he's also
Black
produced and
Panther
worked with
and
Childish
Creed,
Gambino a lot, and then Black Panther and some other stuff. So like he's a great fit for this show.
Yeah. It's just a sound all its own too, which, like you said, you can separate it from the what you're seeing on the screen and probably listen to it on its own. Very similar to what Atticus Ross and
With Watchmen.
yeah, that. Yeah. I love the when they discover the ATST and they immediately cut to him. Bad news. You can't live here anymore.
Yeah, that's so good.
Nice bedside manner.
Yeah, God, yeah, he's so good. And then of course Cara Dune's more involved explanation, more sympathetic. But yeah, them just. Do we see any villagers die in that battle?
I think there's a couple.
Yeah,
I think so.
I don't specifically remember seeing them, but
Like, yeah,
had to have.
I part of me was expecting at least one of the two that hired him to like bite it. I
yeah,
was like, oh, funny people never
sacrifice
last.
himself somehow.
But God, yeah, it's such a great cut, and then of course when they bait the ATST, like when they sneak in and they have that like fight inside the little wigwam or bungalow or whatever you want to call it. Like,
Yeah.
I also like I'm a sucker for well done like close quarters hand to hand action scenes, and that's really fun. Seeing more of those pop up, like I don't know if they're gonna top the SEAL Team 6 retrieval of Baby Yoda from last episode, which was such a great sequence. But I mean, yeah, the action in the show has also been one of my favorite things to see.
Yeah, oh, it's great. And, we get some more backstory on him, and that he's not removed his helmet since he was a kid in front of anybody.
We get some context on if you remove the helmet, you can't put it back on.
Yeah. None of that makes. I mean, it makes sense in this world, but it doesn't make sense in the context of like previous Mandalorian knowledge from like Clone Wars and Rebels, because they're always taking their helmets off. And
It was more like being a police officer. This is what you do, or being part of the military.
Yeah.
This is far more just religious overall, is what they've kind of talked about. Guns are part of the religion. This is the way. They have like that mantra. Like,
Yeah, which makes me wonder, is like, because there's almost a tribal
yeah,
aspect
Yeah.
to it. So like, I mean, is there reason to think that like maybe this is more like kind of like an offset of the main Mandalorians that we've seen in the canon so far?
Yeah, I think it is, because the main planet of Mandalore, there are multiple systems or planets within the system, and the main planet of Mandalore is not comprised of masked helmeted warriors at all. They're pacifists, and Death Watch is camped out on a moon, and they want to bring back the warrior ways. But then in Rebels, we also see that there are other planets in the Mandalore system with other, like you say, tribes. So, and it makes sense because he's pulled out of that bunker and brought in when he was a kid during the Clone Wars. So it would have to be like this whole way of life that they have was instilled in whatever tribe this was back then, which is different from what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to explore more of that, and to see these tribes and clans like come together, come to a head, see these differences in their ways of life. Yeah.
And also, this is just kind of something that I thought was interesting. A friend of mine posted earlier this week that he was looking at like one of the Boba Fett action figures, and like the little info blurb said that he wears the armor of like the Mandalorian Super Commando. Doesn't refer to him as a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of interesting, because I imagine everybody just assumes that Boba and Jango are Mandalorian
Yeah,
because they wear the armor.
Which Jango is not.
Yeah. So that's that was kind of a cool little thing that a friend of mine pointed out.
Yeah, and they reference that in this episode where they say you're a Mandalorian, or you at least wear Mandalorian armor.
Yeah.
So
we do learn too finally that he at least takes it off to eat. He just can't take it off in front of people.
yeah, but he takes it off to eat in a very precarious way.
Yeah,
right?
I saw it. I was like, the window's open. Like, if anyone turns their head at the right second, they're gonna see Oberyn Martell sipping on bone broth.
I'm
or
wondering,
spatchka or whatever.
Yeah, it made me wonder if the fact that it was children, if that changed it for him, if he like cared if the kids saw him or not. But yeah, he was really.
Yeah, there's no door to that hut. Like, O'Mara could come back just like super thirsty.
Sorry, I forgot my keys.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it just made for a good shot. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, that was. We're getting little bits and pieces of this. I don't know. Like when we talk about Watchmen, we're hoping we get all the answers by the end of the season. I hope it's just kind of a nice trickle. Like this.
Yeah, I think it's going to just like slowly build, and you don't need all the answers right now,
Yeah.
or even possibly ever. I think there's some
that's
questions
it.
that
Like
you can.
this show, like I'm not even like if questions get answered, cool. But like,
Yeah.
I honestly like I don't care as much. I just want to see the Mandalorian do what the Mandalorian's been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly that. Yeah. We could just keep.
I do want to see more
doing this
Werner Herzog. Don't get me wrong.
We might.
Sorry,
get.
there was none of him in this episode.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he'll be back.
Oh. Or Greef Karga. I just wanted to hear him scream, "Mando!
Mando!
Next episode, they're just flying in his ship, and Greef Karga pops up on the radio.
Yeah.
Mando.
Ah! Mando!
Got a job for you.
Baby Yoda turns it on.
Part of me is just hoping that Greef Karga approaches him in his own ship, and then just from the speakers we just hear.
Yeah. Then you know he's gonna die. He comes out wearing the Apollo Creed shorts.
The American flag shorts and the Uncle Sam hat.
This is an exhibition match.
Showtime! Showtime!
Those days are probably long, long gone.
I bet Carl Weathers can still fit into that outfit.
Yeah, he's looking really good for his
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after everything ends and they're just kind of like sitting back, relaxing, and enjoying watching Baby Yoda and all the farmers. He I guess they've been there a while, because he says, we raised some hell here a few weeks back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's been a few weeks? I thought this was like the next day.
Yeah.
Oh, they've just been basking in the glory. They scared off the dog-faced people.
Yeah.
They took away their big stick.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it makes sense. They'd want to like stick around and make sure there's no more trouble coming their way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went from being very highly motivated in the first episode. He's like asking for all the jobs he can get. He's trying to apparently raise credits to
get more armor.
Get more armor, I guess. I mean, we really don't know what his motivations are. To now they're going to ground.
Yeah. Well, that's
so-
more out of necessity, because at this point he's probably blacklisted by the guild.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Probably not going to give him any assignments while he's currently technically a bounty himself.
Right, but like we still don't know what his motivations were to take all those jobs in the first place.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, it's bounty hunter. Money. So, I mean, it's the same reason we go to a day job.
Yeah, he seemed to be the extra Beskar would go to the foundlings.
Right.
Seems like the work that he was doing, whatever he made, kind of price seemed to go to that underground society of Mandalorians to a
He's
degree.
got a soft spot for orphans. Probably explains why he went back for Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
That's been my assumption.
I've seen people speculate that maybe we're going to get more revealed in his flashback, that possibly Yoda himself like fought and destroyed some
Saved him from a super battle droid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. Has some direct experience.
That would be crazy to see like actual Yoda in this show. I don't know how they would pull that off.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he was a kid, I mean, Yoda would have been old.
Well,
Yeah,
'cause
well, he's still jumping
timeline-wise,
around.
Yeah.
It would have to fall in like Clone Wars era stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Because after that, he's exiled.
Or maybe it's Yaddle he sees. And and then we see Yaddle die, and we finally get the explanation
answer.
of what happened to Yaddle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because the general idea is that Yaddle was a lot younger than Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
What an unfortunate name.
So-
though.
That
she
silky
could be-
hair.
She could still be around somewhere.
Well, yeah.
Maybe that's who Baby Yoda goes to at the end.
I guess, yeah. I know she dies, but I don't remember when she dies in the canon.
Yeah, she disappears between episode 1 and 2. As far as like what we see.
She disappears. Maybe it was one of the other Yodas I was reading about that explicitly stated how they died. I don't remember. There were like 3 named Yoda things when I was doing
interesting.
the research on Wikipedia. Well, one of it was like the comic books, I think. Like so, technically not canon anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Clone Wars, near the end of the run, there's a dark side, like Shadow Yoda. That's just like a golem that Yoda has to fight. It's very interesting. Yeah,
Cool.
So, is there anything else you guys want to touch on with this episode?
And I think those are kind of all the big beats. Like I said, I definitely hope we get more Cara Dune. She's a great character, and I'm pro Gina Carano getting work.
Yeah.
I think she is too.
Yes. Yeah, she did great in this role. I hope she returns.
Mm-hmm.
She was a good just counter to Mandalorian. She in a lot of ways seemed like a peer
Yeah.
in a show where he just doesn't seem to have many peers. IG-80 or AG-11.
IG-11. Yeah, they're both going to show up according to the poster. It's going
Yeah.
to be both of them teaming up with him.
Oh, nice.
Just based on the promo material, which is very misleading. But
Yeah, but I mean, IG-11.
they're also
obviously
the
that-
3 action figures they've made for the show so far.
Are they really?
Yeah, nobody else. Oh, except for the off-world Jawa.
There's no Baby Yoda yet.
No.
Well, that's probably
that's a
in
big
hell
thing.
until.
Yeah. No.
I need one of those like big 10-inch Funkos of Quill. I think they're doing one for Baby Yoda.
They are, but it's not going to be out for a while.
Oh
So.
yeah.
Right. Well, and in the casting, there's, I forget what the name of the actor is, but cast as a Jawa that we've just not seen yet, or maybe we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That you were theorizing a couple weeks back
Is it
that
Warwick Davis?
Yeah, I thought it was
just
just based
stowaway.
on the toy. I'm like, why would they make a toy for a Jawa in that one episode? But
Yeah.
it seems like they can just make a toy of any single character from any of these episodes.
I think we'll get an ATST with red eyes.
Kyle Pasek,
Kyle
Yeah.
Ren.
which is he's credited as a Jawa.
Kyle Red.
Kylo's nerdy child.
Kyle Benjamin.
I don't want to learn the Force, Dad. I got homework. I'm still real excited to see who Bill Burr shows up as.
Yeah. I hope they don't waste him. Like a lot of these other comedic roles have just been very small, one-off. Maybe
I
maybe
can't
a little bit of
imagine
humor.
Bill Burr. I can't imagine his role is going to be any smaller than it was in Breaking Bad. at
That's what I'm
least.
thinking.
You can't imagine it's any smaller than his role in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he's great in Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
would love
no,
that. Yeah.
So I assume it'll probably be at least to that degree. Like not a major role, but
Yeah.
certainly not a
Something like
one-off
Carl
like
Weathers.
Poseidon's role in the first episode.
Yeah. More like Carl Weathers.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's in one of the trailers for this season.
Oh,
you
yeah.
actually see Bill Burr in action. So
Oh, wow.
he's gonna
In
be doing
action?
some stuff. Yeah. So some more Breaking Bad alums. We still have yet to
He's
see
a-
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too when I was reading. I was like, because he's listed as a Moff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm real curious to see him pop up.
Yeah, they could have cast him as Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One.
Yup.
Just still as intense and threatening.
Yeah.
This is true. Similar presence.
What if Bill Burr's just a stand-up comic on Coruscant? Just in the background of a club that the Mandalorian
Hey, you
has
ever
to
dated
go
a
to.
Twi'lek? Oh, man.
Them tailheads.
Always smacking you in the face. I wonder what comedy's like in the Star Wars universe.
I do not believe it's been explored in any official canon, though
Yeah.
I'm sure in some of the garbage legacy novels we've gotten our fair share of.
I'm sure it can't be any worse than some of the music we've gotten in the
Oh, I guess we do in
the revisions.
some of the quote unquote comedy and the holiday special with
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Entertainment of some nature or another.
Yeah. Was it Art Carney?
Yep, Art Carney.
Then B.
B.
Arthur's
Arthur,
weird
yeah.
cabaret number.
Oh my gosh! So you were talking before we started recording about John Favreau wanting to do a Christmas special.
Oh yeah, he's fond of the holiday special and he wants to make another one. So, and he's serious. So
And
we'll
we,
see.
We didn't talk about this at all in the first episode, but Life Day is
He
a
mentions
reference.
Life Day, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the first time? Like, so the holiday special is maybe canon, maybe not canon.
Yeah.
Probably not canon. But Life Day is now actually canon. Has it been referenced anywhere else?
No, I do not believe so.
At
There's
least not in the main series.
yeah.
Which that's just that's a fun little takeaway from
Yeah.
the series.
Yeah, I did think it was funny that they mentioned it in the pilot. I thought that was pretty great.
We'll throw something in there for the diehard fans. But if John Favreau wants to do a holiday special, it's gotta be in the same kind of a vein, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, he's got a certain fondness and reverence for the holiday special, so I think he would definitely lean into that.
One of the Mandalorian's bounties is Lumpy.
Oh no.
Lumpy could still be around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wookiees are old.
He's real old.
Lumpy and Itchy and Mala.
Bashful. Sneezy. Bonnie Bob.
Oh.
Mo
Yeah.
with the gimpy leg.
You're having fun over there?
No, now I'm just crossing 7 Dwarfs with Home Alone 2.
Oh
You've
my.
been smooching everybody. Boney Bob. Mo with the gimpy leg.
Cliff. It's a lie. And yeah, so I think that's all for The Mandalorian this week.
I think so.
So you can find this show on Twitter at Who Watches Pod. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. Ryan, where can we find some of your stuff?
You can find me on Twitter at Harbjagen, HARBJAGEN.
You can find me at DustinMeadowsComedy.com for shows, blogs. All my social links are on there. Check me out there.
Cool. And episodes of this show can be found on our main feed of Who Watches, alongside our coverage of the HBO series Watchmen on Apple Podcasts or any podcatcher of your choice. And also don't forget, we are on YouTube, where we also post every episode of this show. Please subscribe and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or really anywhere. It really helps us out. And don't forget, we're continuing to cover HBO's Watchmen, which continues to blow our minds, and there are only 2 episodes left, so please jump on that bandwagon if you haven't already. We're excited for Friday's episode and seeing where this show continues to go. So until next time, initiate self-destruct sequencing.
Mando!